good. I'll give you a half of my 30.
So I did start flying rather early. Dad flew in RCAF, originally was trained by the Canadians, then went to the Royal Flying Corps, which became the RAF during World War I. The interesting part is that what drew me to the Naval Academy, I did not want to go in tents and get in mud, as they would at West Point in the Army. So guess what I do for recreation? I get in tents and go out in mud on a hunting trip. Never know how your mind works. But what brought me in was a request, if not an order, to leave Patuxent River on a temporary duty to go to Washington. And a group of us, I forget what the number, some 30-odd, were in this room, being briefed by two engineers and a shrink, as we talk about it. It was actually Ma Vos, if I remember right. And they were trying to convince us how neat it would be to get in a capsule on top of a rocket. And I said, no way. Send that idiot that goes out of the cannon in the circus and let him land in a net and forget us. They said, no, don't worry. We're going to put some monkeys and chimpanzees in first. Now I know I want out of here. So I really had a very negative opinion of it. Went back to Patuxent, went back to my normal assignment. I started talking to my peers, and they all said, look, if you want to go higher, farther, and faster, this is going to be an interesting program. So I kept following it. Now we were all there sort of equals, all test pilots, and most of us had combat records, and we were all camaraderie. Very little, no sense of competition I could see. The first time I saw any competition was when the 7 of us were introduced, and all of a sudden, John Glenn acts like he knows what he's talking about. He's got a PR head, and none of us did. We were all, oh wow, what's this all about? And also we sort of woke up and said, well, I guess we better pay attention. The Russians launched Sputnik, and we were very much shook, the whole nation was. And then they launched a dog, which they called Mutnik, and this got our attention. And then we were starting to catch up. We had the Explorer, then the Vanguard, and we got that going, and then finally the Explorer. And then we started launching monkeys, and then chimpanzees, and then they launched Yuri Gagarin. We were totally shook by that. And as a result, we were getting telegrams like mad from all over the country, from the Association for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, ASPCA. Please stop launching these chimpanzees. So we launched Alan Shepard. That's my favorite Shepard story. I remember when I finally got the launch pad, I didn't do the Alan Shepard thing, looking up at the thing and all that, but I wanted to get in the elevator and get going. And as I got in, slid in the cockpit, it's like getting on a shoehorn and sliding, right angle in there. I look and here, and on the hand controls, this remove before flight tag that Cooper and Jim Rathman had put in there.
4, 3. I have liftoff, clock is started. Patsy feels real nice. Roger, backup started and running good. Patsy riding beautiful, Dick.
Then came up with my Gemini Mercury flight. Then Gemini, I was backing up Gus Grissom and John Young. I said, gosh, when do I get one of these prime flights? So I was wondering when it would. Of course, then I had Gemini 6 and was totally thrilled. And then Gus and John backed me up. And that was probably the big point in the whole series for me, Gemini itself. Gemini proved we could control and change attitude and change orbit in the spacecraft, which is unbelievable. But that's what Gemini had to do to make Apollo workable. A lot of people forgot about Gemini. Then Apollo had to prove that it could do rendezvous and docking, then have a vehicle that could land on the moon and take off again, part of it, and come back and rendezvous with the command module and come back to Earth. A series of events which were absolutely astounding when you think of it. And yet I felt with Apollo 7, my Apollo flight, that I had to prove it could do all those things. And I was thrilled, frankly, when they made a decision to take Apollo 8 and go around the moon. then we won that race at least. And that was what Apollo 7 did for me. It proved that we could do all the things we set out to do and do them well. So as a result, Apollo could go on and do what it did. I think the biggest surprise I had in the whole series of events in the space program was after Shepard's flight. Within weeks, President Kennedy said, "We will go to the moon and back before this decade is out." I was sitting with, I think, John Glenn and Scott Carter. What is this guy saying? Because we hadn't even gone into orbit yet, and we were looking forward to getting that done. But the idea of going to the moon was really, really a profound impact on all of us as when Mr. Kennedy made that comment. I think as a society we're brought up with the Christopher Columbus, the Lewis and Clark, the exploration. And it's an urge, a pioneering urge, and we humans like that. And it's like you go for a walk in a national park. These events sort of accumulate, and you feel very, very uplifted by exploration. And I think that's probably what made us want to go to the moon as individuals. I'm not sure whether Mr. Kennedy, President Kennedy, wanted that, or whether it was a political thing just to have a Cold War with the Soviets. Because after we went to the moon and back, Washington sort of lost interest in us, the press corps lost interest in us. So somehow we have to get that spirit of exploration fired up again.